Hello, everyone. Dear Zero Conference delegates, dear guests joining us from any corner of the world, thanks to this conference's opportunity to broadcast it all live for free for everyone. Welcome to the session of Inclusive Play and Playful Learning for Children, which I have the pleasure and the honor to chair today. This session highlights inclusive design for children's playgrounds, as well as exciting methods for learning through play and magic. My name is Emanuela Zaimi, and I am the founder and the managing director of Down Syndrome Albania Foundation. Virtually with us to share all they are doing to ensure inclusion and accessibility for children with disabilities in play and playgrounds are Ms. Noa Nitzan, the director of the Technology Center at Beit Issie Shapiro in Israel, Ms. Aditi Agrawal, the co-founder of Gudgudee, joining us from India, Mr. Ricardo Rosas Díaz, professor of psychology at the Catholic University of Chile, and the director of the Center for the Development of Inclusion Technologies, and Mr. Kevin Spencer, the director of Hocus, based in the United States, and you will see all of them in a few minutes. Dear all, I am also a mother of 3 children, and Darby, my oldest son, is 10 years old now, and he was born with Down syndrome. We as parents very often, even at home, have to be present to ensure that RB is motivated and included in playing with his siblings, that he sticks to the play till the end, and that he is assisted to perform all the game tasks. For instance, if there is any of his fine motor skills involved, or even for being simply able to follow the play order and don't get into the nerves of his siblings. For sure, even in the kindergartens and school settings, the class teachers and support teachers have to apply dedicated pedagogical techniques, taking in consideration child needs for an effective and inclusive participation in play. I suppose also that many parents relate to the challenge of cutting their children's screen time, especially from not at all educative YouTube channels. These parents are also constantly looking for developmental learning games to download on their children's iPads so they can use in a more effective way this mainstream device now. Additionally, although in many living public spaces we might have many children playgrounds, like Vienna, for example, has a lot of them, having inclusive indoor or outdoor playgrounds is not a mainstream situation yet. Knowing that play is very important also for child's development, and that even in this aspect of our children's lives, we need to advocate and ensure accessibility, naturally, the Zero Conference organizing team decided to dedicate a session to the topic of inclusive and accessible play. So welcome everyone, and without losing further time, I invite Ms. Noa Nitzan, a certified occupational therapist, UX designer, and accessibility consultant, joining from Israel, to set for us the floor on the importance of concepts in promoting inclusive play and how mainstream technology can promote participation and enable play among children with disabilities. Dear Ms. Nitzan, the floor is yours, and as you know, you have 8 minutes to present today. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope you hear me well. I'm really happy and excited to be here today in this amazing conference by Zero Project, although we're virtually, but still. So my name is Noa Nitzan, and I'm the director of the Technology Center at Beit Issie Shapiro in Israel. And I will talk to you how we can use technology to promote inclusive play. Next slide, please. A few words about my organization. So Beit Issie Shapiro is one of the leading organizations in Israel. We are impacting 500,000 people each year, and we work in Israel and globally with a wide range of disabilities and multiple cultures. We also have a special consultant status at the UN. Next slide, please. I don't really see my slides so well, so I hope it's okay. And we are talking today about inclusive play, and I want to emphasize the term inclusion for a minute, and to say that from my perspective, it's not just about accessibility, which sometimes it's more narrow and more technical. It's much more about the experience and the perception of really inclusion. And when we talk about mainstream, so it could be iPad, it could be other things like Xbox or PlayStation. Okay, now I can see my presentation. And there are a few advantages of those kinds of mainstream technologies. I cannot see my presentation, which is, I don't know why. Now it's okay. So there are a few advantages. First of all, they're much more affordable than products that develop for people with disability. They help us to reduce the stigma, highly motivating, increase the chances for interaction. Children with disability can play with their siblings, with their friends without disability because it's mainstream products. And we know that touchscreen devices are usually easier to use and more accessible for people with disabilities. Next slide, please. And I want to talk about play for the sake of play. Sometimes when we use toys and games or apps, we use them as therapists or parents to promote skills or to train skills, which is okay, but sometimes we forget to just play for the sake of play. And when we're using an iPad, which is very mainstream, it could be other tablet also, with playful mainstream apps, we can really encourage these kinds of play. So here in the picture on the left, there is a little girl. She's a very playful girl with intellectual disability. So when she's playing with a real doll, with a real plastic bath, it's too abstract for her. So she's not really motivated. While she's playing Peppy Bath, it's a great app, very playful, very quality. She hears the sounds, she gets feedback, she hears the splash of the water, so she's really engaged and play. And the other picture, it's another girl, also very playful girl. She loves playing with her dolls. And she has cerebral palsy. She has very poor hand functions. She needs her mom with her to play, to manipulate all the objects. So when she's playing Toka Kitchen, another amazing playful app, she can be independent. So it's not the same. It's not like a real doll, but for her, it's a great way to be independent because it's a small screen. It's very accessible for her. So the iPad helps us to bridge motor and cognitive difficulties, but we have to consider intelligent use. Next slide, please. Here are more examples. On the left, it's one of her students playing with her brother. And the mother was so excited, so she immediately sent us this photo because she told us it's the first time they're playing together. Such a normative situation in the evening, playing on the sofa with an iPad, a memory card. They will never play with real cards. And the other picture is one of her students, and he's playing a Taki. It's a very popular Israeli, it's like the Israeli version of Uno. Again, a mainstream game. And he has cerebral palsy, cannot use his hands, so we have a very low-tech solution, a card holder with a very high-tech solution, a computer with an eye gaze, an AAC system, and all the symbols there on his communication device help him to participate and communicate with his friend while he's playing. So our main goal was to help him participate, thanks to those kind of technologies. Next slide. In our center, we have those big touch screen in our classes. And first of all, because it's big, it's really encourage the children to play together, and it's very fun and easy to use. And you can play their games, but you can see also just the drawing there on the big screen for these little children in the free time in the kindergarten. It's not just about good for their movement and their eye-hand coordination. It's also just for their playful and experience of like, you know, drawing with a real crayon and a paper, something that they cannot do right now, maybe they will. So it's very fun and playful. On the right, there is a picture of a multisensory room. And there we have also interactive floor, which is like a VR. And again, it's very accessible and playful. So it's another great way for play, for the sake of play. Next slide. Now, what we should do when we think about inclusive play, us as parents, therapists, educators, we have to think inclusive and participation and age appropriate, how to use existing and mainstream toys and games, not to create new ones. For young children, sometimes it's easy. There are great toys that we can find in regular store, toys that we can just make great noise, sounds, and great feedback, visual feedback, and it's easy to manipulate. When the children get older, sometimes we find it challenging to find something that is age appropriate, but we're looking for example, here there is Klak. It's a game. It's Israeli company, but there's in other countries also. And there is a good visual contrast, easy to grasp. There is magnet inside, so it's very easy to manipulate. And we can do adjustment. We can change a little bit the rules. We can add some physical adjustment. And the same is with apps. We are always looking for those kinds of apps that are easy to use, good contrast, etc., but mostly the mainstream. Next slide, please. And very important is the developer's perspective. And here is our goal, to raise the awareness for inclusive design for developers, for companies. We create this document about inclusive design highlights, principle for app developers for games. And it's important for developers to understand that it's not just about accessibility. It's accessibility together with inclusive design principles and good user experience. And they have to implement it from the first stage of the development, because later it's too late just to make changes. And they have to understand that it's good for their business, also because it's a big market, but also it's good for the image. And at the end, they will have a better product for everyone, not just for children with disabilities. They also have to remember that the game they are creating have to be attractive and playful, because sometimes when they have in their mind to do something for children with disability, accessible, sometimes it became boring games. Next slide, please. And here, just a few last comments. We have to consider also the infrastructure and resources. Here in the picture is a music lab that we're having with Arcana. It's an accessible music instrument, amazing one. And if we want to use those kinds of things, we need funding. We need also funding for the teacher to do those kind of activities. Usually, because it's for play, it's hard to find funding versus other kind of activity. And of course, it's so important. Next slide, please. And always to remember us, the human environment. It's never just the technology. We have very important role there about the implementation and the intelligent use of those kind of products. Next slide and last one. And this is the summary. So technology does not replace every activity, but can provide many solutions and allow for participation. We need to raise the awareness of the importance of play and leisure. The implementation is very important. It's never just the technology. And there is work to be done around policy and resources and inclusive design. Last one is my thank you slide. So thank you. Here is my email address. This is our blog. You're all welcome to visit our blog and sign up. And this is my email address if anyone wants to contact. We will be very happy to collaborate. Thank you so much.
Thank you to you indeed, Ms. Nitzan. Please stay with us till the end, because I think we will have time to take a couple of questions at the end. I will now invite Ms. Aditi Agrawal, the co-founder of Gudgudee, which is also a Zero Project awardee. She will join us from India. Their inclusive playground design studio it provides a range of indoor and outdoor playground products, as well as maintenance services for their executed playground project. Ms. Agrawal, the floor is for you, and thank you for joining us today. We don't hear you. Can you check your microphone, please? Thank you.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, very well.
All right. So, hi, I'm Aditi Agrawal, a founder of Gudgudee. Gudgudee is a design firm in India that creates inclusive playgrounds for children. I'll take you through some of my journey and how I reached where I am. So next slide, please. So in 2011, while I was a student at NID in India, I happened to visit a special school where there were children of all kinds of disabilities. While there, I observed that the children had never gone outdoors to play. And that came as a shock to me because for me, all my memories, childhood memories, are around playing with other children outdoors. And here's a set of children who would never get this opportunity. So when we tried to explore this further, next slide, please, we realized there were two main reasons for this. One, that the existing equipment was not adapted and unsafe for them. And secondly, that there's a lot of stigma attached around disability. So even if parents did take their kids outdoors, there were so many unkind comments that they felt excluded. So then we, as design students, set out to, design something which works for them. So our first instinct was to design something safe by adding more railings and seat belts and, all kinds of safety elements. But then that would have made the playground even more exclusive for children with disabilities and would have discouraged, perhaps, children from other fields and other abilities to come and play. So therefore, we had to really think different. Can we change the slide? Think different and think of something new and innovative, which is not done before. And we started questioning what really is play and what does it really mean for different age groups and different disabilities, for different abilities. And we spoke to a lot of educators and child psychologists, parents, and everyone. And we realized two main things. One, that play is not a mindless activity. It is nature's way of developing a child's brain. When a child is playing, they are developing very essential fine motor skills, gross motor skills, social skills. And that play is not just about going up and down the swing or, slide or jumping. It is also just like enjoying maybe bubbles blowing in the air or just feeling water on your hand or just observing shadows. And therefore, we wondered why our playgrounds limited to only swings and slides. Secondly, that all disabilities are not visible and they're only not about wheelchair accessibility. And I don't think I need to elaborate on this platform. But sometimes we design from just the perspective of wheelchairs when we call for a playground accessibility. And sometimes that doesn't serve a lot of other people. Next. So as a result, we really had to think, beyond the swings and slides and think of something different. And therefore, in 2014, after I graduated from college, I started Gudgudee, where we go beyond the swings and slides and create something sensory with sound, smell, touch, visuals, so that even if a child is limited in one sense, they can play using the other. And what you see in the picture here is an interactive wall. It's an open-ended play element. It has lots of niches and colors and textures for you to touch and see. You can also walk and balance over it like the girl who's doing it here. On this pink wall, you see lots of holes. You can see through the wall and you can also climb up over it. You can also see a little pipe sticking out from one of the walls. That's a periscope. So not all children are social and not all children are comfortable around others. So maybe they can also hide behind this wall and see what their playmates are doing. And when they feel comfortable, they can come out. Next slide, please. There's another version of the interactive wall. You can see how children are interacting with it in different ways. Next slide. Here, so I'm just talking about a few of the products that we have designed. Of course, there are many, but in picture number 1, you can see two girls jumping on these hexagonal platforms. They are what we call as tandems. They make a sound when you jump on them. In picture 2, you can see telephone pipes. You speak from one end and you can hear from the other end. It's inspired from the game of cup and threads. Picture number 3 is a large disc, a translucent disc, which the child can see through, and we call it the colored lollipop. And it's inspired from, the joy children get from seeing the world in different colors and observing shadows. Here, the child can rotate this around and see, their playground in different colors. Next slide. In picture one, we have a roller bed, two children playing on it, and that's inspired from occupational therapy rooms, where it is used to, calm down children and also build their muscle strength. But we felt this is a very interesting add-on that could be in a playground as well. Picture number two is an inclusive spinner that welcomes children with wheelchair and everyone else to have some spinning fun. Picture three is a sound element where these boys are exploring, making different sounds and just having fun. So that's what we really do. And about Gudgudee, can we move on to the next slide? Gudgudee, as I said, I started in 2014. And we are a for-profit organization. We offer custom design services, and we also have a product catalog. We earn revenue through the services that we provide to the clients. And in terms of impact, we have, in plain numbers, we have done 60 projects across 16 cities in India. But what I consider as a real success is the fact that we have turned an unlikely customer base into repeat paying clients. Our idea is that every neighborhood playground should be an inclusive one. Like, for example, right now, all phones have a default camera setting, and no one gives a thought. And therefore, I believe that every playground by default has to be inclusive. And that's why we also went beyond just creating these play spaces in special schools or special corners to reaching out to real estate developers and schools and school chains and CSR activities to widen our scope. Next slide. So, past 2 years have been difficult for people all around the world, and has been difficult for us as well. But I think these are the times that really question your belief in the idea and the will to go forward. And I feel that we have loads of it. And I would love to go forward with your collaboration and your support. So going forward, at this current scale, right now we are managing operations, manufacturing, everything ourselves. But going forward, we would like to partner with some other organizations who could handle the same. So I'm looking for guides and mentors who can help us with this transition. Also, secondly, we realized that creating inclusive playgrounds is not the end in itself. No change can be brought about if there is no advocacy, policy, or awareness around it. So we are looking for partners for same. And third and fourth is to be able to fundraise, to research and develop the next set of most exciting play spaces where wheelchairs are also an enabler, not a barrier for anything, and combine that with tech for the future of playgrounds. And I thank Zero Project for giving me this wonderful platform to express my ideas and get feedback from people all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Agrawal. I agree with you. We should be one day, hopefully, that all playgrounds are by default inclusive. And I believe that what you do and your project really deserve some better partnership or partnerships that would help you to research beyond. We will have most probably minutes for questions for you as well at the end. Now I have the honor to invite Professor Ricardo Rosas Díaz, the author of 5 books and winner of international prizes, to introduce us the La Mesita application, another Zero Project awardee. The application was developed at the Center for the Development of Inclusive Technologies at the Catholic University of Chile. La Mesita is a free application that supports the reading development of children, especially of those with Down syndrome. Let us hear more about this application from Professor Díaz. Dear Professor, if you are with us, the floor is yours, and thank you for joining. Please check out your microphone. We still don't hear you.
Yes, sorry for that.
Yes, now we hear you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You have 8 minutes.
Thank you very much. Yes, I know. Thank you very much. It's an honor for me to be here with you. Thank you. Please, next slide. I'm not seeing the presentation, but I will talk very short about our organization. The Center for the Development of Inclusive Technologies belongs to the Catholic University of Chile, and we are devoted to the developing inclusive technologies mainly within the scope of initial literacy. We are a team of about 30 people, and we are developing software for reading, learning for deaf, blind, and many inclusive books. Next slide, please. La Mesita is an app for iPad and Android devices designed to offer a playful environment full of activities related to the initial reading learning process. The app has been designed mainly for children with reading difficulties, although it is inspired to be fully inclusive. I think we tried to develop the software following the guidelines that exposed previously by Noa. I think we developed it following very closely these guidelines. And La Mesita has a pedagogical manual that permits teachers extract the full learning potential. This manual, the La Mesita, is also in Spanish and in English, and the manual is only for Spanish right now. Next slide, please. La Mesita was created thanks to a grant from the Chilean government. The app was experimentally tested with a sample of 30 non-reading children with Down syndrome. After a 20-session training of 30 minutes, we could demonstrate that the app has a significant effect on reading learning compared with the non-treated control group. This is very important because we could demonstrate that the app has really a very important effect on the reading learning process of these children. You know that children with Down syndrome has really difficulties with the decoding process, and La Mesita in its playful format really permits the easiest learning. Next slide, please. As said, we still developing an English version of La Mesita called the Tiny Table. You can download it from the App or Play Store, and we are looking for partners for developing new language versions. La Mesita is very easy to translate in other languages. The app is, of course, totally free, and we can easily make a different language version. We think the main success factor of La Mesita is La Mesita by itself, and so I think it's better to spend the time looking at La Mesita. So let's take a closer look at it. Can you please start the video? Oh, I think this is not our video. Sorry. The video was the next slide.
Esta es una guía breve de la mesita. Esta es una guía breve de la mesita.
So, thank you. Yes,
Esta es una guía breve de la
our
mesita,
video.
el escritorio virtual para la estimulación del desarrollo lector de niñas y niños. En la parte izquierda de la pantalla encontrarás 7 mundos con distintas temáticas, cada uno con objetos, cuentos y ordenamiento de historias. Al presionar en la parte superior, se desplegarán los objetos de ese mundo. Puedes escoger cualquiera y llevarlo a la mesita. Al presionar el objeto o la palabra, la aplicación dirá su nombre.
Monociclo. Monociclo.
Presionando aquí, puedes segmentar las palabras en sílabas o letras. Puedes tomar partes de las palabras y formar palabras nuevas.
Mono. Mono.
O simplemente devolverlas a su lugar inicial. Puedes trabajar con los objetos cambiando su tamaño, agregándoles sonido o cambiándoles el color. Y también cambiar su tipografía a mayúscula, minúscula o manuscrita. Otras herramientas son el tablero, el lápiz, la goma, el micrófono, la cámara y la bomba. Con el tablero de letras puedes escribir una o más palabras y así conformar frases.
El puma.
Con el lápiz puedes escribir o dibujar. Con la goma puedes borrar un área determinada. O simplemente utilizar la bomba para borrarlo todo. Con el micrófono puedes reproducir tu voz de forma entretenida. Con la cámara puedes hacer una captura de pantalla de la mesita. Por último, puedes escuchar cuentos y ordenar historias. Para obtener más información, presiona el icono en la parte superior de la pantalla y se desplegará el menú de ayuda. Recuerda visitarnos en www.cedeti.cl para conocer más de la mesita y todos nuestros demás proyectos.
Professor, can you switch on your microphone again, please?
This was La Mesita. Thank you very much. You can download it from the Play Store or the App Store. And any question, you can write me to my email. That was in the first slide, I think, or in the next slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you to you, dear professor, and I can't wait to see. Yeah, to listen myself over and over. Can't wait to see La Mesita available in other languages. I believe you are open also to non-EU languages, right? Like Albanian, for example. Please stay with us till the end for any possible questions from the guests. And now we will hear about Hocus and how this program is magical. Mr. Kevin Spencer, the director of Hocus, I always confuse with Pocus, joining from United States of America, will tell us all about this student-centered, arts-based program designed for children and adolescents with autism, behavior disorders, and intellectual disabilities. The Hocus program was also shortlisted for a Zero Project Award. Mr. Spencer, welcome and thank you for being with us today. The floor is yours.
Great. Good afternoon. I am so happy to be here and excited to be able to share this time with so many other very amazing projects. It's been a fascinating day for me. I want to give you just a quick introduction of who I am, what I do, how I ended up here. I'm faculty at Carlow University, a small Catholic university in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I teach a course on the intersection of arts and disability in the College of Education. I'm also a subject matter expert and Fulbright specialist for the Department of State on arts integration for special populations. One of my most fun jobs, and I was thinking about Noah, is that I'm a research consultant in the School of Health Professions, the Department of Occupational Therapy, and the Institute of Arts and Medicine at the University of Alabama in Birmingham. But probably my most fun job is I'm a magician. And that's what gives me, I think, greater standing to talk about magic knowledgeably and practically. As an arts advocate, we often talk about the power of the arts to transform, inspire, challenge, build community. Next slide, please. But many of us forget the role the arts can play in promoting and protecting human health. Next slide, please. There you go. Thank you. The arts are woven through the fabric of our lives, and I've seen that in the presentations here today. They're what we listen to, what we watch and read and wear and put up on our walls. Art is such a basic part of our everyday lives that we often take it for granted. The art of magic, my favorite art form, has a story as old as recorded history. It may be the oldest and most universal of all the performing arts because it so easily translates from one culture to another. Magicians have been an important part of international societies, significant players in the world of theater. And magicians were often called the scientists of show business because they were daring, adventurous, like Aditi, willing to step out and break new ground and take on new impossibilities with no guarantees of success. They were outside of the box thinkers. Next slide, please. I believe in the effectiveness of using simple magic tricks to create inclusiveness and encourage play because the art of illusion has the ability to capture and hold the attention of people of all ages and all abilities. But children are especially intrigued by the seeming impossibility of a magic trick. So this method of play empowers parents, teachers, therapists with a valuable low-tech kind of tool to motivate their children to become more involved in learning and playing. That's what Hocus Focus is all about. Next slide, please. There are so many ways learning and performing simple magic tricks can be beneficial in social, emotional, cognitive, and motor development of all children, but especially children with disabilities. Each magic trick in the Hocus Focus program was specifically selected because it does improve fine and gross motor skills, cognitive skills, communication skills, social skills, while also developing creativity and critical thinking. Next slide, please. Teaching a child, especially a child with a disability, to do something that the normal able-bodied person can't do, a magic trick, can be a tremendous boost to their self-esteem, especially when they're battling some serious self-concept issues anyway. Learning and performing a magic trick can improve their confidence, give them a sense of pride and accomplishment, and give them a positive social experience. And this can motivate them in so many other areas of their lives. Next slide, please. Empowering children to feel good about themselves and their accomplishments can increase their motivation to try harder, to take more risks, and to continue to build their self-confidence and self-efficacy while improving their cognitive and psychomotor skills. Here's the thing that I love about a magic trick. The repetitive action of practicing a magic trick over and over again can also help children build strength and dexterity, and consequently can help increase resilience, grit, and independence. And the performance aspect of a magic trick, the performance skills that you learn as part of that magical experience can be used to increase the child's communication skills, their level of confidence, their self-esteem, and their emotional well-being. Next slide, please. Here's what we do know from research. In the last 5 years, I think we've published 13 research studies on the application of magic tricks with children with a variety of disabilities. And here's what we know. Learning to perform a simple magic trick influences 3 very important areas. You can click and then we'll get that next word up. The first is dexterity. Excellent. You have to be able to manipulate the props in order to do the magic trick. And every magic trick in the Hocus Focus program is scalable. So if you have low fine motor skills, you can still do the trick. If you have very good extensive fine motor skills, the trick just becomes harder. But every trick is scalable to the abilities of the child. Next word, please. The second thing is motivation. The ability to do something unique is a powerful motivator. And kids understand that in order to get really good at something, they have to practice it. So in the process of practicing, they're improving all of those skills. And when they're doing this in a social environment, it becomes a fun, creative way to learn together. And then last word, please, because magic is also about socialization. I could teach all of you a magic trick. You could all go back to your house and you could practice the moves of that trick over and over and over again. But you know what? It's not a magic trick until you show it to someone and they go, oh my gosh, how did you do that? That's when the magic happens. Otherwise, it's just a series of moves that happen. But when you show it to somebody, the social aspect of magic is what makes it so powerful. Next slide, please. Engaging children in authentic experiences is the best way to create an inclusive society. When social objectives are taught through the arts, they provide children with authentic experiences that engage their minds, their hearts, and their bodies. And these experiences are very real and meaningful for them, bringing together multiple skills and abilities. And will they make mistakes? Absolutely. They will make mistakes. But through those mistakes, they develop really important skills like resilience, flexibility, adaptability, critical thinking, problem solving. The great thing about a magic trick, I'm going to pick on Aditi for a minute. Let's say it's her birthday today. I could ask all of us to sing happy birthday to Aditi, and we could do that. Or I could put on some music and say, let's all dance a little bit for Aditi's birthday. Some of us would be better than others, but we could do that. But if I said, let's all do a magic trick for Aditi's birthday, we don't know how to do a magic trick. And so that makes failure, not getting it right the first time, so much more acceptable because you shouldn't know how to do a magic trick. So what we find is as children learn the tricks, when it doesn't work, instead of getting frustrated, they have to figure out why didn't it work? What do I need to do to make it work? And they work with each other in a really social way to figure out what might have went wrong. And then they show each other and they have fun in that process. Let me show you just a glimpse of what Hocus Focus looks like. Next slide is my video, please.
You won't believe it, and strange as it sounds, extraordinary magic follows you around, and the camera can't catch it. You won't see it in the mirror. If I say look behind you, you turn around, it disappears. But I see it, I see it. I swear I do, I see extraordinary magic in you. So I'll keep my eyes open, awed and amazed. And if you start to doubt it, I'll remind you of the million ways I see it, I see it. I swear I do, I see extraordinary magic in you.
Last slide, please. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what Hocus Focus is all about. We work very much with parents, with special educators, with occupational therapists and speech-language pathologists with this project. Currently, we're in about 2,500 facilities in 30 countries around the world, and do a lot of virtual and in-person training with the project. My name and email address is there on the screen. If anybody would like more information, it's all there. And there is a website that I notice is not there. If you go to hocusfocusmagicclub.com, hocusfocusmagicclub.com, you'll find about 10 different magic tricks with PDFs of the instructions that you can print out. There are instructional videos there that show you what the trick looks like, a step-by-step guide on how to perform it, and then a recap. If you're a teacher, there are lesson plans there that you can download about how you can use this particular magic trick in your classroom setting to deliver academic content. And if you're a therapist, it provides all of the therapeutic benefits for the magic trick as well. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share this project with all of you. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Zero Project, and everybody associated with such an incredible organization.
Thank you to you indeed, dear Kevin. Congratulations, you made me cry. And yeah, I would ask for a round of applause for all of them, because I think that they are doing, and I believe you too, they are doing a great job to ensure inclusive and accessible play for our children. Before we go to the question and answers section, please an applause. So, anyone would like to break the ice with a question for any of the panelists? We have 5 minutes, and I think we can take 1-2 questions. None? Okay, then I ask. My first question is to Ms. Agrawal. Aditi, if you are with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. So if you'd go to the, so if a city like Vienna city or Tirana city, Albania, my country, would have a budget to build a playground like they do usually build, your project would cost more than a usual, or I don't want to call them non-inclusive playground, but not as we want. So does it mean that having this type of playgrounds would cost more, and that would need some extra advocacy at the policy-making level?
So, I mean, this is an interesting question because it depends what are you comparing it with. In India, if you compare with some of the Indian brands of playgrounds, we are almost at par, if not less, for sure. We are maybe a little extra in terms of, the budget, but almost at par. Also, in terms of advocacy, yes, it requires a lot of advocacy for sure. And, but, the way that we have sort of found around getting, because sorry to say, but in India, very few people care about inclusion or disability. So how we have maneuvered around this is by calling our products innovative rather than inclusive, because they see that it is very different from the swings and slides and everyone wants to do something new. So we are something new. In our DNA, we have inclusion, but sometimes the way to convince them is not always, by advocacy sometimes, yeah.
Thank you very much, Aditi. Maybe for Mr. Spencer, also a question. Do you give online courses that we can join and become as magical as you?
We do. We do offer a lot of online courses. There are courses for children who just want to learn. There are courses for parents who would like to learn with their children. We have courses for occupational therapists. I'm an approved provider of the American Occupational Therapy Association for continuing education credit on the application of magic tricks in a clinical setting. So we provide continuing ed to occupational therapists, physical therapists, and speech-language pathologists. And then we also have courses for special education teachers who are such an important part of the team of working with kids with disabilities, on how they can use the very same tricks that occupational therapists are using to develop skills, teachers can use to deliver academic content, so that the same magic trick is used in multiple ways. I'm a huge fan of an interdisciplinary approach to using the arts. I think we've gotten away from the arts in too much of our society, and we've focused on other things. And especially as we come out of the pandemic and we're dealing with the need for a lot of our children to learn how to re-socialize with people, I think magic becomes a very important and fun way to get them to collaborate and to share magic with each other. So yes, the short answer to that question is yes, we do offer online virtual lessons.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I hope not only me, but others from the audience would be interested too. Ms. Nitzan and Professor Díaz, maybe you want to say a last word or anything that you would like to emphasize related to inclusive play or related to your work in particular? They have left?
No, I'm here.
No, okay, because I don't see you.
Yeah,
yeah, now I see you.
No, I just add that I think it was amazing panel, and each one of the speakers, I just wrote notes to me because I think that it's all about each one from a different angle. She really emphasized, I said about it in the beginning, the term inclusion. Inclusion is something that has a lot of, it's so important. It's not just a word that we're saying all the time. It means something. For example, if Aditi, you said that we should have in every park, it should be inclusive. It's not just because we want, think about it, children go down to play outside. They don't supposed to go to in another neighborhood. It's supposed to be in their neighborhood with their neighbors. And if we want them to really feel inclusion, so it has to be like this. So this is, I think, it's very important, and this is the difference between to feel inclusion and just to be accessible and just to know that we have somewhere accessible playground. It's not enough. It has to be everywhere. You just go down, and it's the same with the magic. I think magic it's so inclusive because it's for everyone. There is no age for magic. It's with a lot of humor. It's so much fun. So it's all at the end. I think it's the main purpose of this panel. It's to talk about inclusion. I think it was all great examples how we can promote inclusive in such a great, fun way that promote participation. And I think it's great. This is the agenda and what we're talking today in the field of disability. So it's great.
Thank you very much. I think we all agree with your statements. So, Professor Díaz, are you there, or? It seems not. And
yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Do you want to say a last word? We are finished with our time, but yes, we can take it. Professor?
Sorry, I lose the connection. I couldn't hear you. Can you repeat the question,
Do you have
please?
any last sentence or anything that you would like to share with us for the closure of this panel?
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you to you. Well, I learned new things, and I hope you too, and I hope you all leave this session inspired, motivated, and thank you for joining us. And enjoy the rest of the conference, because I believe it's all very interesting and beneficial for us all. Thank you.